Hello, everyone. It's me, Pamela Brewer. I'm back, and you are joining me on this edition of M.E.S.H, which is where we talk about your mental, emotional, and social health all the time. That's what we do every week. So I hope that you are joining me every week. Today's guest, you actually may have seen him on M.E.S.H before. But today we're talking about a book that he has written sometime back. Again, let me introduce you to Bruce Jacobs. Bruce Jacobs is an author. He is a musician. He's a poet. Bruce, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back, Dr. Brewer.
Is there more that you do that I have not mentioned?
I don't know. I skip a mean stone. I can skip stones pretty well.
That would be you and you alone. That's impressive. Well, let's talk about this book that you wrote. I think it first came out in 2000. Is that correct?
Yeah, the first copy, the first edition came out in 2000 and like 1999, 2000. And the subsequent edition, Race Manners for the 21st Century, came out, I don't know, early in the 2000s came out.
All right. So we're talking about Race Manners is the title of the book. And that brings up all kinds of issues for all kinds of people. Now, for some people, a book about manners. Okay. So I talked to someone some time back, and, he told me that he thought the difficulty between Black and white people was that they just didn't know each other. And so his idea was, get a bunch of Black people, put them in a room with a bunch of white people, and then everybody could figure out how to talk, and they could be very mannerly and problem solve. What do you think? Is that a good solution?
I don't think it's enough of a solution. I think it's a start. I think it's a good start. I also, frankly, would have renamed it something other than Race Manners if I had it to do over again, only because people often interpret that to be more about personal etiquette and things that aren't societal than the book actually is. But it is what it is, and it says what it says, and sadly, it's more relevant now than I would have wished it to be these years after it was published.
Say more about that. How is it more relevant?
Well, I was just going through my copy of Race Manners for the 21st Century, and there's a place where I say, I actually wrote it down, I won't read it, but basically the point I make is that the rule of the rich has gotten even more brutal and barbaric socioeconomically across race. This is a matter of class, not race, throughout American society.
Okay.
With the concentration of wealth in the country. And the media, for their part, use messages to vent this anger through hate aimed at particular groups. That shifted from venting it through hate aimed chiefly through TV and radio to its being mostly hate targeted and vented online. But the principle and the same process is going on. It's only worse than it was before because the concentration of wealth is so much greater than it was before. And so non-rich white people, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I just want to interject that it's now available 24/7. So it used to be that you had to turn on your radio or your TV if you were going to hear something or get a book. But now what you are describing is available 24/7.
24/7. You can turn it on. You can use it as a substitute kind of immersing narrative for yourself. You don't have to watch the news. You don't have to read newspapers or magazines. You don't have to look at television. You don't have to look at anything that's vetted for factual or balanced content. You can go straight to the hate and the stereotype that floats your boat. And the online platforms chiefly fulfill this function now. And it's necessary because more and more, broadly speaking, more and more working white Americans are madder and madder and madder about the concentration of wealth because it's affecting their lives, their quality of life, their ability to take care of their families, their ability to be healthy. I mean, we had the assassination of the CEO of a health provider company.
Yeah, it's pretty
That
telling.
tells you that tells you the kind of process we're going through. And the function of this online hate is the same as it was when it was Rush Limbaugh. It's to deflect that rage in another direction that's safe for the continuation of corporate rule. That's what's happening here, largely, I think.
Do you, as an African-American man, find yourself feeling more safe, less safe, same?
I definitely feel less safe.
Why?
Part of that is because I live in Washington, D.C. So at this particular moment in time, this is not a safe place for democracy, as you know, with what the Trump administration is doing and with the troops being stationed here and with the absolutely blatant kind of purges that are being carried out by this regime. So that's a specific thing. But I do think in general, that's gotten worse. And it's gotten worse as the imbalance in who has the money in the society and who doesn't has gotten worse.
You know, you've used the word balance and you've used the word facts, and those used to mean a particular thing. And now they have very varied definitions. Balance means entirely different things depending on who you are and who you see when you wake up in the morning. Facts, those get rewritten every day, all the time. And I don't think we really know what we used to know, which in and of itself can have the impact of being traumatizing. If you never know, and I'm using the word never intentionally, if you never know that what you're hearing or what you're seeing is a factual representation of what was intended to be, what do you do? Or if it
Well,
is a factual representation, I'm thinking about AI, which I think is wonderful, but it is AI.
right.
If you're looking at something and you think it's really the person you think it is, but you don't really know. I mean, what are we doing with all of this? And how is this, in your view, impacting the way in which we interact with each other across races, if it impacts at all?
I think it does. And I think it impacts all of us. And that is such a great question. Because I think what it does is create a not only pathological, but an actually toxic sense of constant panic. Because no one ever really knows what's true and what's not, what's factual and what's not, who means them well and who means them ill. All of this has become a kind of wraparound morass of alleged facts and alleged events and alleged truths that leave people so overwhelmed that they move in the directions where they're already vulnerable, which is if they're leaning toward being inclined to blame people of color or to blame gay and trans Americans, LGBTQ people, or to gain legal immigrants into this country for the ills of the moment societally. This wraparound online, you could call it a non-truth osphere, right? has made it so much easier to live in those truth-free bubbles.
Yeah.
And its function very clearly is to diffuse and to prevent what I think would be close to, if not violent, a non-violent economic revolution by the majority of working Americans against the tiny percent that actually run the country due to money. And so I think that's what we've got.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question, another question, which is it's a difficult question to ask for me, just as a person living in these times. And it's a frightening question to have to ask. But I've been hearing about Black men being lynched this is 2025. I don't think that's supposed to be happening. Are you familiar with any of these cases?
I can't say that I am in the moment, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because this is where that goes. It's that toxic,
Okay.
and it's that pervasive, the misinformation and the hate. And we now have wraparound media that, as you said, make it absolutely feasible to spend your entire waking life in a bath of whatever it is that you choose to believe. So it's an indoctrination machine more than I think at any other time in the previous history of the country.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm by no stretch fully aware of all of the details of these assassinations. Two of them, I believe, have been in the news, and maybe there were three or four. I don't know. So there were two things about that really stunned me. One was that, first of all, is like, this can't be true. That's number one. Then it's, oh my God, this actually might be true. And then it was, what do you mean there's no evidence of foul play? That's what I have been hearing. Yeah, the student was found hanging from a tree, but we don't see any evidence of foul play. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah. We all need help with this. I think what's at play here is the experiments where they hook up patients or subjects to electrical wires and they subject them to painful electric shocks.
Yep.
And they slowly turn up the voltage and the amperage, not suddenly, but slowly. And the tolerance of the person for those shocks increases with the slow increase of the voltage and amperage. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, and it's an excellent point. An excellent point.
I think this country is experiencing a kind of experiment along those very same lines, right? How much can you turn up the level of lies, the level of extremism, the level of carefully, thoughtfully targeted hate to cause the kinds of results that you and I are talking about right now, to bring things back to Lynch law, for example?
You just described the experiment where the voltage was slowly brought up to the point that the subjects were able to tolerate much more than they could have on day one. It seems to me that what's happening in the world today is that the pain is not slowly being brought up, but it's certainly chronically being created. It seems like almost every day there's this amazing jaw-dropping thing that has happened or been said. And, you're right in that I think that it has the result of people sort of becoming immune almost to really the horrors. Horrors is my word, I get that. But horrors of, from my perspective, what's going on. What's your thought about that?
I think that's another great point. And I think that the suddenness of that supercharged cross-cultural dose of extremist thought and horrible violence and vile hatred is creating an increasing numbness, an increasing inability for, what Freud called the superego to look at this with a judgmental eye and say, well, wait a minute, this isn't right. This does not reflect what I was taught to believe is right and is just. And it's kind of frying the circuits of the nervous system of the country.
Yeah,
the speed with which that's happening, which I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point. And, we began our conversation with the books that you have written entitled Race Manners, and what's happening now. It's not only as if race weren't enough.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not only race. It's women. It's people who look differently, who think differently, people with disabilities. I mean, it's almost every kind of anything that is marginally different from what a portion of the population prefers to look at.
Right.
Physically, emotionally, financially, and socially prefers to look at. All of these groups are in trouble.
Yeah. Let's call it all extremism, because
Okay.
that's what it is. It's extremism. And you're right, it's across the board. And the more across the board it is, and the more quickly that happens, the more we as humans with nervous systems that weren't really designed for this
Right.
originally,
Right.
the more we are literally fried into either complicity or submission. Either you go along with it and it somehow impels you to be part of the problem and to be part of some strain of this kind of extremist, these kinds of extremist narratives, this kind of hate, or you just go numb and you decide, well, how can I know what's right and what's wrong? So everything's right and everything's wrong. And I give up trying to tell the difference between the two.
Let me ask you a question in the few minutes that we have left. If you were to write Race Matters today, what would be one or two core points that you would want to make? And our time is so short that it's not fair to ask you for two. I'm just going to ask you for one.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I would say, actually, the question I would ask is, why is all of this extremism, this brain frying surge of across the board extremism, happening at exactly the point when corporate capitalism is ruining the lives of Americans in unprecedented ways? Healthcare is unaffordable. Food is unhealthier and unhealthier. Cancer is on the rise. All the things that the wealthiest democracy in the world ought to be able to provide affordably are either unaffordable or unreachable in some way, or increasingly hard to get. And so the question I would ask is, and it's a good question, what's getting in the way of the progress we could make in using the unbelievable wealth at our disposal? And the answer is greed. And I would make the case, and I do make the case, that racism has always been about, hey, look over there, when white people are angry about their own state of being and their own state of prosperity. It's been that way since slavery, and it continues to be that way now with people of color in this country. It's just that, we have Cornel West used the word for it that I'm not going to use here, but we have dialed up the range through which the kinds of things that used to happen mainly through racism now happen through targeted hatred at all kinds of groups of human beings in our society. And
Bruce,
I think it's intended as a distraction from the literal poverty of the wealthiest nation in the world.
Bruce, I'm going to have to put a period in it there because our time has now evaporated. I do want to make the point, and I know we all know this, but it is important to say that it is not all Black people fill in the blanks. It is not all white people fill in the blanks. It's that kind of thinking that really has helped propel us to where we are when we put everybody in the same box and say everybody is guilty of the same thing. Bruce, we have been talking about Race Matters, and you have written 2 books around that issue. The last time we saw you, we were talking about your newest publication, which is Fishing While Black. So I do want to acknowledge that, and I'm hoping that you're going to be updating Race Matters, and you'll come back and talk to us about Fishing While Black when that is on the shelves. Thank you so much, author Bruce A. Jacobs.
Thank you. And I do think broadening this issue of targeting is key to understanding how to solve this problem, because it's affecting all of us.
I guess you're going to have to come back and talk to us again.
I'd love to.
Folks, I'm Pamela Brewer. You have been listening to M.E.S.H, where your mental, emotional, and social health is always at the fore. I hope you will join me every week. I'm here every week bringing you a different conversation about issues that affect your daily living. I am hoping that today's conversation has been compelling for you and that you will share it with someone you care about. Thank you again. I'll see you next week.